Welcome back to the Destiny of Oracles, Capricorn. Someone has been trying to act like they have moved on, but this energy tells me that the story isn't that simple. The silence between the two of you feels really heavy, and I don't think that it's because the feelings disappeared. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest, because tarot reflects the current energy, and free will always be there. Okay, so let's see what this connection truly stands right now. So we have the Eight of Swords in reverse, the Ace of Cups, and the Judgment card. So, Capricorn, the first thing that stands out is that someone has been trying to break free from their own mental prison. Because with the Eight of Swords in reverse, it feels like they're finally starting to see the situation very differently. They're realizing that not every wall between you was created by the connection itself. Some of those walls came from their own fears and their own assumptions. And with the presence of this Ace of Cups just next to it, honestly, this changes the emotional tone completely. Instead of showing feelings fading here, it shows that emotions are beginning to flow again. So, whether they have admitted it or not, their heart is opening to what they have been trying to suppress for so long. Then we have this judgment card, and this tells me that they're reaching to a point where they can't keep pretending that nothing has happened. They're being pushed to face this connection honestly, and that usually comes after a period of deep reflection. The interesting part is that this feels like a sudden awakening and more like someone finally accepting a truth that they have been avoiding for so long. So the connection itself doesn't feel blocked anymore, but that doesn't automatically mean that the action will follow it. So now the real question is that what are they actually feeling now that they can't hide from themselves anymore? Spirit, please help me find what is this person feeling for the Capricorn. So we have the Knight of Wands in reverse, the Two of Wands, and the Two of Pentacles in reverse. So, Capricorn, the feelings of this person are real, but they are anything but settled. So, the strongest thing I see here is that someone who's caught between desire and hesitation. So, part of them wants to move forward towards you, but another part keeps pulling the brakes because they don't trust themselves to get it right. The Knight of Wands here in reverse tells me that this isn't someone who is feeling emotionally free. They're frustrated with themselves. They may even look inconsistent from the outside, but underneath, they're afraid of making another impulsive decision that could make things more worse. So the Two of Wands shows me that they're thinking about the future of this connection. They're not just asking, do I still have feelings? They're asking that if I come back, what happens next? And that's a much bigger question. And with this card of Two of Pentacles in reverse, I think that they are getting tired of juggling between these emotions. They have been carrying this back and forth in their mind for a while, and that's becoming emotionally very much exhausting for them. So something has to give. So, yes, they are still emotionally invested, but they're also standing at the crossroads where feelings alone aren't enough anymore. So now the bigger question is that what truth are they still keeping from you? Spirit, please guide me. What are they hiding from this person? So we have the Three of Pentacles and the Four of Wands in reverse and the Queen of Swords. So, Capricorn, what I feel that they're hiding isn't a lack of love. It's the fact that they don't believe that this connection can move forward unless something changes. So, deep down, they know that the old way of doing the things isn't sustainable anymore. The Three of Pentacles here tells me that there is some potential here. They haven't mentally walked away from this connection. In fact, part of them still wonders whether the two of you could rebuild this, but only if both the people are willing to meet each other halfway. Then we also have got this Four of Wands in reverse, and this is the secret that they are not saying out loud. They don't feel secure, whether it's trust, it's timing, or unresolved conflict. Something is still making them question whether this connection can become stable enough to last. The Queen of Swords here tells me that they're hiding behind logic. So instead of admitting how vulnerable they feel, they're trying to look composed, they're trying to look detached and emotionally in control. But that's much of a shield than the truth itself. So they're not protecting themselves from love, they're protecting themselves from being disappointed again and again. And that brings us to the next question, that what is the real obstacle that is keeping this connection in a state of separation even though the feelings are still there? Spirit, please guide me about the obstacles that are present between the Capricorn and this person. So we have the Hermit card, and the Queen of Cups in reverse, and the Temperance card in reverse. So, Capricorn, this separation doesn't feel like it happened because the love disappeared. Okay, it feels like that it happened because the emotions stopped being expressed in a very healthy way. So instead of talking through what they were feeling, this person retreated into themselves and expected time to solve what communication never did. The Hermit card here tells me that they have been isolating themselves emotionally. They have convinced themselves that staying quiet is much more safer than risking another difficult conversation. But the longer they are staying in the space, the harder it is becoming for them to find the way back. Also, we have got this Queen of Cups in reverse, and that shows me that someone who's emotionally overwhelmed, even if they never let it show, they're struggling to regulate their feelings, so they end up suppressing themselves instead. So, from the outside, it can look like that they don't care, while in reality, they're avoiding the emotions that they don't know how to handle. And with the presence of this temperance in reverse, the connection has lost its balance. There's been hurt, there's been misunderstanding, or emotional extremes that were never properly healed. And until this imbalance is acknowledged, both of you keep circling back into the same pattern. So the obstacle isn't the presence of feelings, it's the absence of the emotional harmony and the honest vulnerability here. So the real question now is that if they could put their pride and fear aside for just one moment, what would they finally want to say to you? So we have the Eight of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Seven of Wands in reverse. So, Capricorn, if this person could just speak without fear, I don't think that they would start with an apology. I think they would just admit just how they lost themselves in this connection. They would tell you that they walked away emotionally because they didn't know how to keep carrying everything that they were feeling. The Eight of Cups here tells me that someone who stopped caring now feels that leaving or pulling away was easier than facing what was happening inside them. So walking away didn't give them the peace that they thought it would give. And the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, it tells me that they would also admit that they kept this connection stuck. They delayed, they hesitated, and they failed to give you the consistency that you deserved. So, whether it was fear, pride, or uncertainty, they know that their inaction became the part of the problem. And this is the part that they rarely show to anyone. They are tired of defending themselves. They are tired of pretending that they have all the answers. Deep down, they don't want to keep fighting this connection anymore. So, if they could be completely honest, they would probably say that I never handled this way, this connection in a way that I should have. And I know that my silence has cost us more than I ever expected. But saying those words and actually doing something about them are two very different things. So let's see what they are most likely to do next. Spirit, please guide me about the next step this person will take towards Capricorn. So we have the Ten of Cups in reverse, the Five of Pentacles, and the Death card. Okay. Capricorn, I don't see this person rushing back in, and that's important. Their next move actually begins with accepting that things cannot continue the way they have. They're finally starting to realize the emotional distance between you and them, and it has become too painful for them to ignore. The Ten of Cups in reverse here tells me that they are deeply aware that this connection isn't where they hoped it would be. There is disappointment here, but it also is pushing them to stop pretending that everything is fine. Then we have the Five of Pentacles here. That shows that someone who genuinely feels the loss. So, whether they have admitted it or not, they feel left out in the cold. And here's the surprising part that they're beginning to understand that this loneliness isn't just happening to them. Their own choices helped create it. So, with the presence of this death card here, and this is the strongest energy in the spread, this isn't necessarily the end of the connection, it's the end of an old version of them. They are being forced to let go of old patterns, old defenses, and the old ways of handling this relationship because those old patterns simply aren't working anymore. So the next move isn't some dramatic sort of message or a sudden declaration of love. It looks like an inner transformation that prepares them to approach this connection in a very different way. Now, the real question now is that once this change takes place, Where is this connection actually heading? Spirit, please guide me. Where is this connection heading? So we have the Page of Swords, the King of Pentacles, and the Two of Cups. So, Capricorn, this is the first time in the reading where this energy finally starts feeling genuinely hopeful for me. It doesn't feel rushed, but it does feel like that this connection is moving towards something that's much healthier than where it has been. So the Page of Swords here, it tells me that this person isn't completely out of your energy. They're curious. They're watching, they're paying attention, or, quietly trying to understand where you stand before making any move. They don't want to walk in blindly this time. And I really like this shift here. It It shows that there is someone who's beginning to think less with the fear and more with maturity. So instead of reaching emotionally, they're asking themselves that can I actually be stable and the dependable person this connection needs? Can I be that reliable person? And this is where a very different mindset appears. This is something different from what they initially were, from where they started. And then we have got the Two of Cups, and this is the heart of the outcome. The spirit is showing that the bond between you two hasn't disappeared. In fact, the potential for mutual understanding and the emotional reconnection is still very much alive. So, this connection has the potential to move from confusion into some genuine sort of partnership, but only because one person is finally learning that love isn't enough without consistency. So, before we close this reading, Spirit has one final emotional truth that you need to hear about your connection. Let's check that out. Spirit, please guide me about the emotional truth about this connection. So we have the Queen of Wands in reverse, and the Empress in reverse, and the Ace of Swords. So, Capricorn, the final truth isn't that this connection lacked love. It's that both of you have been carrying the wounds that changed the way you showed that love exists. Somewhere along this way, the confidence turned into some sort of self doubt, and the warmth slowly began into an emotional distance. And the Queen of Wands here, actually in reverse, it tells me that this connection has been affected by insecurity more than either of you have ever realized. Someone has stopped being feeling chosen, appreciated, or emotionally safe. And once that happened, the relationship started losing that nurturing energy it needed to grow. See, both the Queen of Wands and this Empress, both energies are in reverse. What really stands out to me is that this person may have been acting as though they had everything under their control, but underneath, they were questioning their own worth and whether they could truly give you what you deserve. And that's a very different type of energy from someone who simply doesn't care. And the Ace of Swords, it cuts straight through this confusion. The spirit is saying that this connection cannot move forward without complete honesty, not half truths, not silence, not expecting the other person to read in between the lines. So, a real conversation is what changes the direction of the story. So, the deepest emotional truth is that the biggest enemy of this connection was never the feelings between the two of you, it was everything that remained unspoken. And that's exactly why your advice cards became so important because they'll show you how to navigate this energy from your side. Spirit, please guide me about the advice for Capricorn. So we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, the Devil's energy, and the Lovers in reverse. Capricorn, Spirit isn't asking you to chase this connection. Spirit is asking you to break the cycle that's keeping you trapped here. So, if you keep investing your energy the same way while expecting a different outcome, you'll only exhaust yourself emotionally. Because the devil energy here is the strongest message here. It tells me that this connection may have created an unhealthy sort of attachment where hope, fear, and waiting have become all tangled up together. And here's the hard truth that love should never make you feel like you're losing yourself. That's the pattern the spirit wants you to recognize. And we have got this lover's card in reverse, and this says that the next decision is yours. You can't carry this relationship alone, and you can't heal a connection if only one person is doing all the emotional work. Because real love requires two people genuinely choosing each other, not one person constantly choosing for both of them. So the advice isn't to give up. Your advice is to stop forcing what's not ready. Protect your peace. Focus on your own emotional stability and let this person prove their transformation through consistent actions, not just the promises. And because the moment you stop carrying the weight of this connection by yourself, that's when the energy truly has the room to change. So, Capricorn, I feel that this reading brought you the clarity that you were looking forward. Remember, today's energy isn't set in stone. People change, choices change, and so do the relationships change. So, if this reading resonated with you today, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your story. And if you would like more messages from the Spirit, don't forget to subscribe to the Destiny of Oracles. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading.